When the moon hits your eye like a big pizza pie, that's amore. That's amore. What is amore? Well, amore is an Italian word meaning love. And do you know what I love? Pizza, of course. I come from a family of 7, and when we come home after a long day of school and my parents ask, "Who wants pizza?" I and all 4 of my siblings shout, "Me!" From the streets of Chicago to the comfort of my own home, pizza is a staple of American culture. It's as American as apple pie. Or is it? Where does pizza actually come from? And why is it so delicious? Is anyone else getting hungry? Too cheesy? Keep listening and I'll let you in on the origins of pizza because its presence here is not a result of chance. It's a prime example of culture diffusion. This is when an aspect of one culture spreads around the world. And it's important to learn about this because as Americans, we live in a literal melting pot. I'm melting! Wait, not literal. What's the word I'm looking for? Metaphorical. And if you didn't know, metaphor is not actually English, it's Greek, which is another example of culture diffusion. Today, first I will be talking about culture diffusion and food nostalgia, examining how ideas spread across the world and their role in shaping our cultural identity. Next, we will figure out how my favorite food showcases both of these processes perfectly. Third and finally, we will examine the implications, both positive and negative. In the November 2020 issue of the International Journal of Geography and Geography Education, culture diffusion is defined as the spread of cultural elements due to the interaction among people and cultures. A couple of different examples of culture diffusion include clothing, building structures, music, art, literature, and languages, to name a few. Much of what I enjoy has been spread through culture diffusion, such as soccer, which FIFA website states records can trace the history of soccer back more than 2,000 years ago to ancient China. Christianity has also had a huge impact on my life, and that began in the 1st century AD in Judea before spreading to most of the world. Everything, from my language to my favorite sport, and even my religion, is a result of cultural diffusion. Emily Kaldoff in 2021 says that what we eat makes up a large part of who we are. Food functions as a code, a shorthand for where we see ourselves in the communities around us. It is also inextricably linked with memory. Certain foods can trigger powerful waves of nostalgia in ways both good and bad. An example of this can be with funnel cakes. I know when I think of a funnel cake, I can immediately associate it with food carts, fair games, carnival games, and just overall fun. And buttery popcorn. I can imagine the smell of movie theater popcorn and remember my first date. And though it may not seem like these two things are related, when you think about it, a lot of the food that we develop nostalgia for is only here because of culture diffusion. Every week, I have 3 days of after-school practice, which usually lasts until 6 or 7 o'clock, and most of the time, and sometimes we'll go across the street to eat at a Mexican restaurant, La Casa del Sol, before we head home. And just bringing it up now, I can hear the sizzle and smell the aroma of fajitas as I remember the happy voices of my family around me as we discuss our day. For some of you, it might be Chinese food on Christmas Eve, because it's usually the only restaurant that is open around that time. For others, it may be French food, because it was the place you went on your first date. And finally, it might even be your favorite meal that's prepared by your grandmother. It doesn't matter who it reminds you of or what the food is, it affects you the same. Culture diffusion has brought the taste of the world into our most intimate memories, and they are forever linked. Which brings me to mi amore, the love of my life. The one I think about before I lay my head down each night. Pizza. This is a dish that embodies both cultural diffusion and food nostalgia. Pizza is a prime example of how traditions and ideas from one society spread and take root inside of another. The origins of pizza itself is thick with history and rich with examples of cultural fusion. Going back thousands of years, the ancient Greeks enjoyed various flatbreads, and the flatbread named Panis Vocacius is one of the most direct ancestors of the pizza that we all love and know today. Centuries later, pizza is still just flatbread with oil and basic seasonings, largely considered a food for the poor. It didn't even have the one ingredient that most pizzas contain: tomato sauce. Why is this? Well, This is because the tomato is native to South America, and it only reached Italy in the 1500s due to cultural diffusion. According to the official journal of the European Union, it then took 200 years before marinara sauce was appeared for the first time. 2 years later, a brilliant chef named Rafael Esposito came along and changed pizza as the world knew it. According to Braden Phillips, writing for National Geographic in April of 2022, in an effort to make a pizza worthy of his royal guests, Raphael created a pizza that was embellished and emblazoned with the colors of the Italian flag. He did this by flavoring with basil, mozzarella, and tomato, thus creating what we would later call the margherita pizza. Because of this moment, Raphael is credited as being the father of all modern pizza. Later that century, Italians started to immigrate to the United States, and they brought pizza with them as a little slice from home. But it didn't gain mass popularity in the United States until after World War II, when soldiers who had been stationed in Italy brought back an appetite for pizza. Pizza is also intertwined in our minds via food nostalgia. It is often associated with special occasions and events. When you think of pizza, what day do you think of? For me, it's the Super Bowl. And that sounds pretty reasonable, right? Wrong. According to a 2015 study done by MyFitnessPal, a calorie counting app from Under Armour, pizza is actually eaten the most on Halloween. Speaking of Halloween, did you know that the holiday itself is an example of cultural diffusion? While many may think St. Patrick's Day is the only Irish holiday, we can also thank the Irish for Halloween. During the Celtic festival, Samhain, it was said that the dead roam the earth, so the Celts wore costumes to blend in and not be recognized by evil spirits. Two famous American traditions that collide on the same day were brought here via cultural diffusion. Furthermore, the use of pizza in popular media, such as in the hit TV show Breaking Bad and the classic Christmas story Home Alone, has helped to solidify its place in our cultural memory. And pizza is a prime example of American food nostalgia. Many Breaking Bad fans particularly got caught up in a meme in which Walter White throws a pizza on his roof. And many fans replicated this and threw pizza on the roof of the house used in the actual TV show. This became such a problem that the owner had to put up gates to keep out the trespassers. And it happened so often that the owner of the house has become a local celebrity for her hate of the Breaking Bad fans. Me and my family went to Albuquerque on vacation, and we wanted to see the house. We got more than we bargained for, as the owner was sitting on her lawn chair, flipping the bird, and screaming and cursing at anyone that wanted to come to take a picture of her house. So sad that people could be so careless, so cruel, so monstrous, as to waste a good pizza. What would the Ninja Turtles say? I don't know. Like Kevin McAllister would say, keep the change, you filthy animal. And the classic Christmas story, Home Alone, the story revolves around pizza. From the beginning of the movie where Kevin is denied his beloved cheese pizza as Bud eats the last slice, to the infamous scenes involving the poor pizza delivery boy. Pizza has embedded itself into our cultural zeitgeist, and for many, it's a prime invoker of food nostalgia. Cultural diffusion has had both positive and negative implications. On the one hand, it has created a shared cultural experience, connecting us with people from all walks of life. It's like a universal language that everyone can speak, with each bite telling a different story. On the other hand, it has resulted in the homogenization of cultures and the loss of unique culinary traditions and practices. It's like a cultural melting pot, where individual flavors are lost in the mix. In conclusion, cultural diffusion is a crucial topic for you to understand. It sheds light on the ways in which societies and cultures interact, exchange and adopt practices and ideas. Pizza is just one example of how this process can play out, and how food nostalgia and cultural diffusion are interlinked in our minds and our hearts. So, the next time you enjoy a good slice of pizza, take a moment to appreciate the cultural journey that has brought it to your plate. Thank you for your time.